y'all, welcome back to another Leetcode video where I solve problem 1, which is 2 sum, which is an easy type of problem. So we're given an array integer nums and an integer target, and to return indices of two numbers so that they add up to target. And we assume each input has only one solution, and we cannot use the same element twice. And you can return the answer in any order given. So, given an example test case 1, we're given an array of nums, and we want to add up to 9 given any pair of indices. So, we can do 2 and 7, 7 and 11, or 11 and 15. And we returned indices 0 and 1 because at nums of 0, which is 2, plus nums of 1, which is 7, we add up to 9. So, we return an array of 0 and 1 respective of those indices of those elements, 2 and 7. Example 2, we return indices 1 and 2 because at index 1 we have 2, plus at index 2 we have 4, and 2 plus 4 gives us 6. So we return 1 and 2 respective of those indices. And the same thing, you get the gist in example 3 at index 0 plus index 1 just gives us 3 plus 3, which adds up to 6. So how do you approach this problem, right? Well, I'm going to be doing this in a brute force manner, right? So we can have two for loops, one looping through the first index to find in the array, to match with the second for loop to find the second index in the array, to pair up and add up to the target value. So this would obviously lead to an O of n complexity squared, O n squared solution, because we're running two for loops, one for loop inside of another. So yeah, and when you think of the solution, right, so if you initialize our I value, or starting index, and we iterate through this using I++, right, this would have to be I plus 1, right, because doing I plus 1, this gives us a second element, or the next element in the array, right? So if this is respective of I, of any index, I plus 1 would represent this next pointer to the next element in the array. So that's why we're going ahead one slot in the array to represent I plus 1. And this would have to obviously be less than the length of array, so we can iterate without any errors. Yeah, so this would be a brute force type example. So let's try to code this up in Java. I'll be doing this in Java, but like you can be doing this in JavaScript, Python, or whatever the language you want. So yeah, so we're gonna initialize our first for loop right here, I plus plus, and then our second for loop, like I just said, this will be I plus 1, representing the next index / element of that array. This has to be a little less than the length of the array, and we just iterate j++. And then if we get to that point, if the nums at index I plus the nums at index j, if that adds up and equals the target, then we just return our new array representing those indices, I and j. And if we don't end up finding anything matching this logic, or find any pairs of I and j that add up to target, then we just return an empty array right here with nothing. So let's run our test cases and see if this works. Yep, it works. So that's kind of how you do example code 1 right here. Yeah, you can see it's not very effective at all. This is pretty bad like time complexity. But memory wise, it's a bit more better, but also I heard Leetcode's not very like up to par in terms of its runtime and memory statistics, so it might be like a bit off, so don't worry too much about that. But yeah, there's also other ways, but this is kind of how I approach the solution.